As a TradBiz executive or investor, it's reasonable to be a bit skeptical about Web3. What exactly is Web3? How are Web3 models different from today's forms of doing business? Is Web3 really going to happen? When and why? I'm Randall Hancock, CEO of Accelerating Biz. In this video, which is part of the Web3 for TradBiz Executives and Investors series, we'll talk about why we believe that the Web3 future is inevitable. We're transitioning to a new Web3 paradigm in which users own open, distributed networks enabled by and incentivized with cryptoassets. While there's no consensus on a single definition, Chris Dixon, a venture firm, and Andreessen Horowitz defines Web3 as an internet owned by users and builders, orchestrated by tokens. Well-known commentator Fred Wilson from Union Square Ventures provides greater detail, describing Web3 as the next generation of the web in which decentralized apps, or dApps, operate on top of a shared data layer and users have control of their data and the ability to move between dApps with little or no switching costs. In this video, we will take a closer look at Web3, provide context on the previous Web1 and Web2 phases, discuss how the transition to Web3 is already happening, and provide our perspective on why the Web3 future is inevitable. Web3 is the third major wave of internet-enabled change impacting the economy. Over the last 3 decades, internet-enabled markets have evolved from the read-only Web1 to the read-write Web2, and are now transitioning to the read-write-own Web3. The commercialization of the internet in the 1990s brought about what we now think of as Web1. This was a time of experimentation, as millions of people came online for the first time, hobbyists and businesses set up first-generation websites, and venture-funded businesses contributed to the dot-com boom, bubble, and then crash. While many early internet companies, such as AOL and Netscape, didn't make it, those who did, including Amazon, Angie's List, eBay, Priceline, Shutterfly, Zipcar, paved the way for continued internet innovation and adoption. Whereas Web1 was characterized by users consuming published content provided on static websites, Web2 users began sharing information with others via increasingly centralized websites and mobile applications. Today, we're arguably at the height of the Web2 period, dominated by companies like Google, Amazon, Facebook, Tencent, Alibaba, Salesforce, ServiceNow, PayPal, Netflix, Airbnb, and many more. There's no question that Web2 innovation has delivered tremendous value propositions across a wide variety of use cases. However, this has come at a heavy price, including the rise of mega companies in lieu of open competition, the monetization of user data at the expense of privacy, the risk of data breaches due to centralized applications, the threat of users being deplatformed or censored, and the loss of user voice in the evolution of the applications where people spend an increasingly greater portion of their lives. Recognizing these challenges, a growing army of entrepreneurs, software developers, creatives, investors, and users are hard at work enabling the transition from today's dominant Web2 to the more decentralized Web3 paradigm. Enabled by trustless internet money, pioneered when Bitcoin was launched pseudonymously in 2009, the Web3 definition has expanded to include a vast variety of multi-directional peer-to-peer applications where users create content in exchange for shared ownership of distributed protocols and applications. Web3 has grown far beyond Bitcoin, encompassing more than 20,000 crypto-enabled ecosystems, 500,000 developers, and thousands of businesses and investors. We believe this Web3 transition is inevitable as attitudes and behaviors across stakeholders change. As we cover in detail throughout this series, Web3 projects increasingly utilize an open-source, robust Web3 tech stack rather than the proprietary IP-protected technologies of the past. Self-organizing communities of participants with ownership of distributed applications are emerging, replacing product and service consumers who are marketed and sold to by individual companies. Institutional investors increasingly recognize cryptoassets as a new asset class rather than shunning crypto and digital assets. Enterprises are becoming participants in distributed ecosystems rather than owners of markets with centralized control. And regulators, accepting crypto is here to stay, are focusing more on protection and compliance rather than aversion and distrust of decentralized systems. Yet we're still early in the transition to Web3. Total crypto market capitalization was hovering around $1 trillion when this series was published, down from more than $3 trillion in late 2021. In contrast, the total market value of all the companies in the S&P 500 index is in the neighborhood of $30 trillion, with Apple, Microsoft, and Amazon each more valued than the entire crypto asset market today. So, if you're a TradBiz executive or investor, this means you still have time to understand how the Web3 read, write, own paradigm may redefine how your markets work, allowing you to identify opportunities for new value creation and respond to potential disruptions to existing business models. To recap why we believe the Web3 future is inevitable. First, there is plenty of evidence indicating that we are beginning the transition to a new Web3 paradigm in which users own open, distributed networks that are enabled by cryptoassets. This transition, in fact, is the third major wave of internet-enabled change, from the read-only Web1, or if you prefer, the .com era that started in the late 1990s, to the current read-write Web2 wave dominated by big tech companies, to this new read-write-own Web3. As we've seen, attitudes and behaviors across many different stakeholder groups, including technologists, customers, institutional investors, enterprises, and regulators, are already beginning to adjust to this new Web3 paradigm. The next video, Crypto and Web3 Basics, starts you down the path of what you need to know to get started in Web3, going through the foundations of how crypto assets, blockchains, and the emerging Web3 tech stack work. As always, if you found this video useful, please like it. Subscribe to the Accelerating Biz channel on YouTube, follow us on LinkedIn, Twitter, or Medium, and visit acceleratingbiz.com for additional Web3 insights and resources. If you have feedback or questions, contact us on any one of these channels. Thank you and see you again soon.